Perfect. Yeah, we still have a few minutes to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I think that's
We're live now. Yeah.
awesome.
Perfect. Hello, guys. This again our morning coffees with the bright and smart people here. And today I'm really welcoming Ion, the partner of Biz Growth Sport. Uh, Ion, so excited to having you here finally and having some great pricing professional to speak with. How is your
Li-
morning or evening?
Likewise, yeah, looking forward to the conversation. Yeah,
Yeah.
my afternoon's great, thanks. Yeah, so far so good. Busy, yeah, but good.
Yeah, guys, we actually have this amazing bridge between the UK and West Coast, United States. Is why we are on the both coasts at the same time. Yeah, as we announced it today, we have an interesting angle of our morning evening discussion on what we call the pricing maturity. And I know this very often for most of my customers and retailers is a kind of something new what they knowing from me, unfortunately, that this, as any business process, has some levels of maturity. And we are trying to explain and train the retailers to look on their pricing as a journey, as we call the pricing journey, as a pricing maturity. And I'm excited to see that Ion develop his own four level of the pricing maturity. And of course, all of them is designed to move you slowly between evolution of your pricing process. Ian, just would be great if you can just describe high level what is these four levels of maturity exist and why they are like structured like that.
Yeah, so it's called the four levels of pricing power, and it is essentially a maturity model across different company archetypes. So the first level is cost chaser. Then we have market pricer, value conqueror, and price optimizer. So the characteristics of a cost chaser is that typically they're sort of lacking in data and controls. There's a low level of differentiation, low price consistency, and all of these things kind of really lead to discount-driven behavior. So ultimately, they don't have that clarity and alignment with the business goals and objectives, etc. They have cost awareness and typically will take their costs and add an arbitrary margin without any kind of reflection of customer needs, value, willingness to pay, and utilizing, sales data, usage data, etc. The
This
next,
is honestly, if I, yeah, we will stop a bit on each of the
sure,
level.
of course.
Okay, just to summarize, the first level is a cost chaser, right? You name it, a cost chaser,
Yeah.
and it's very resonate with my maturity level. I call it cost plus level one, cost plus. And yeah, most of retailers are really starting from that because if we will start with you tomorrow, the business, right, we will do the same. We actually have our suppliers give us a price, we just add our markups, standard markups, and that's it. It's like cost plus pricing. And of course, I just, from my perspective, guys, this is if you there is okay. This is everyone is starting from this point. And just maybe very quickly you realize that these stages are really limited, right? And you probably losing, from my perspective, you losing some customers because they figure out, and again, some of your competitors are really cheaper, especially if you are sell very commodity items that, or we call it KVI items, what the customer can find all around. This stage is quite limited. It's a good starting point, but then is a lot of limitations in terms of like getting and retaining the customers. I am
So
passing back to you. What is the next
yeah, I think
level?
as you quite rightly pointed out, it tends to be mainly early stage companies that fall into this, but not exclusively. So sometimes you have more mature companies that perhaps haven't had that level of competition and disruption, or they're kind of very regulated, or for whatever reasons, they have not really kind of evolved beyond that cost chaser level because they just haven't been forced to do so. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
just want to add here, you're right, guys. Of course, we do have some items where we follow, for example, following MSRPs, of course, and you will always like part of your assortment will be always cost chaser because you can't really optimize that as far as you want. You just limit it. And but yeah, I honestly, unfortunately, I saw very big organizations, but like a cost chaser on the whole assortment, or was very manual, spontaneous, not recurrent review of the market prices. Like, yeah, but yeah, in overall, our vision to push it, if you dare, is great, but you need to think about level two as sub as soon as you can.
Absolutely. So
What's the
yeah,
next stage? Yeah.
moving away from gut feel and unstructured processes, you then get to market pricer, where you have some basic pricing policies, some price floors perhaps, and competitor price benchmarking, but it tends to be more kind of matching competitors rather than kind of taking into consideration relative value. And what really kind of helps to drive that is the customer segmentation. But at this level, it's quite simplistic. So it might be sort of based on size or industry, but not necessarily kind of reflecting needs, value, willingness to pay, usage, all those types of things, which make for great sort of segmentation, more mature segmentation. At this stage as well, you tend to see quite few product variations, which, a little bit like a one size fits all, means that you lose more price sensitive customers, and you leave money on the table with those customers that are willing to pay you more. So this is a big challenge. And one last thing before you come in with your comments there, you tend to see quite siloed product and sales teams who are at odds over pricing and value, because you just don't have the proof points. And so everybody's got their own opinion. And so this is confusing for customers.
I am so amazing. It just so resonate what we did and what I see in the projects. Yeah, this we call this in our sales like manual market driven. Exactly, guys. That we you realize that we need to monitor the market, and usually customers go after all the products, and yeah, you're right, absolutely. They focusing on the products, not on the customer. And level two, you feel okay. This product, I want to match the price to the whole market, and usually, for example, customer asking us, hey, I need to match to Amazon. Say, brother, no, you not match to Amazon. You match to 1.1 million active Amazon sellers in this point of time. And you're right, absolutely. This like reactive, still like a silos. I mean, each category manager or category just run, try to match as much as items as they can. Also, it's very expensive exercise if you really want to match. It's like it can cost, depends on the assortment, but the guys give you some rough numbers. This can be like a $500,000 or $1 million a year for like 100,000 item assortment just for straight price match. But what Ian, you described very well, that is not reasonable for most cases to be as cheap as possible for all the items on your assortment, because this long tail items, or like items who are coming the second or third in your basket, in your customer baskets, they're less price sensitive, right? And this is where needs to come something new. But again, guys, it's a good next step called I call this sorry, can you repeat? My name is like market driven and yours is
Market pricer.
market pricer. I see market
Yeah.
driven market prices.
Yeah.
Very,
So you're
very
essentially matching your competition. There's very little kind of price differentiation at that level.
Yeah, and good news, guys. Again, we statistically see if you're on the level two, you will see definitely positive impact, like 2-3% revenue increase, immediate effect. But be careful to not overplay with the strategy for whole your assortment. My advice is to keep on this. If you're still on the level two, run your ABC XYZ analysis and run it for A group. For B group is like, again, less important, but it's important to keep the best market prices for your A items, right? Even though you don't have a price elasticity in place right now, it's very simple exercise to see your best sellers and be careful, be aware that the best sellers needs to be priced in within the market. And of course, probably obvious, but do not try to overplay the market. If you will just build your price algorithm to chase like -$1 your closest competitors, all what you do is just starting a race to the bottom, right? You will try to chasing the margin, and it's not good for all the industry, your even industry. Yeah. And just maybe small remark, that is one very young but ambitious customer came our way and say, hey guys, we need a Computera and here's our strategy. And their strategy was to compete with the biggest player in their industry in this country. And just for your comparison, that player making around 8 billion euro in annual sales. That guys was barely around 100 million. So guys, you can compete with the pocket of those guys. Try to not make angry the beer when it's sleeping, you know. Yeah, this is very often. I don't know, Ian, what is your opinion, but I very often I see those mid players or new players. They see their only one pricing strategy, especially at this level, just to undercut by a few dollars, euros, pounds, the toppest player in the category. What is your
Yeah.
opinion about that?
So my opinion is like you need to have clarity around your positioning. So how do you want to be perceived by customers and base it on value perception? There are some key distinctions, obviously, between B2B, which is predominantly where I work, and B2C, such as like the retail space. So obviously in B2B, you know, you can have that price differentiation across different customers, whereas like in retail, you know, you can't kind of give one price to one shopper and a different price to another shopper for the same product. So how you would differentiate that is through your range architecture. And how you would do that is potentially through your channels. You can also look at things like regional price differentiation. There are a whole different level of kind of value drivers, even looking at kind of the customer experience. All of that kind of plays in to where you can position yourself as a retailer. Are you a premium retailer? Are you kind of like a, you know, a cost leader? Or, you know, are your products considered as high quality?
Gotcha. This technically you're saying, guys, the three marketing P, like price, place, and promo, uh, product, sorry, is always in place. You should start from the strategy and thinking like if you are positioning yourself as low coster and all your strategies to undercutting the other players with this market pricer, you need to be sure that you're very efficient on your operations, etc. Because for me, is always question how you will keep up your margins, because again the market is quite transparent right now, and if you select the strategy you need to have another unfair advantage. I don't know, you have your logistics centers all around the country, or you have some, I don't know, the very efficient operations, how you can deliver the item with a low cost, etc. Otherwise I think this is very tricky strategy to be price competitive for all the items. Otherwise, just be calm, see which items are key items, and try to be within the market, and you will be fine with that. This is a very good strategy to keep up with your margin, because again, in general, retail are very, very teeny on margins and need to be smart. And as Ian mentioned, guys, again, start from the strategy for your leadership. Okay, how we want to be positioned. And then, by the way, this position can be, especially if you multi category retailer or department store, the strategies can be for each category individual, right? Because there's are also the different competition that categories, etc. Yeah, and now we're coming to level 3. Ian,
Yeah.
what is, tell
So
us about
level
level
3, value conqueror. So this is where we want to get the majority of companies at, from cost chaser and market pricer. And here we really want to leverage internal data like customer insights, sales data, usage data, and then external customer research such as pricing studies, conjoint analysis, Van Westendorp's, Gabor Granger's, things like that, that will help us to understand value perception of specific features, product attributes, as well as willingness to pay. So at this point, we want to really measure and quantify value as well. So this is particularly important in the B2B space, is like how much revenue are you generating? You know, how much costs are you saving? You know, if you have AI as part of your product, you know, what is the kind of efficiency and productivity gains from that particular solution? And then you need to be able to communicate that effectively, you know, in a language that your target audience understands. So we're not talking about features here. We're talking about benefits and value to your end customer. And then ultimately how you actually capture that through the right pricing model, pricing metrics, etc., that really aligns to how you generate value for your customer. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, this is just very nice. Just to summarize quickly, the level third, guys, this is where we are trying to really match your value proposition with the prices what you can charge. For example, we just discussed pre-mic with Ian that, for example, that different retailers, they feels differently, they invest, you invest different marketing expenses, right? You have your brand promise, your brand guarantee, something like extra, why people coming to your stores. And this is on this third level. I think this is exactly the place where you can monetize on these investments in your brand, in your promise, in your features, through your price. I like to, well say, hide this, add values through the price. We all know the best amazing example of Apple products, right? What, by the way, was blamed for years being most expensive product. What, like, I saw that all those bloggers always say, hey, the iPhone costs nothing, take a look at this. But then look, years come and Samsung comes by, and their products not cheaper than Apple products anymore. They're like very two top smartphones, they cost more or less the same. Before, Apple was blamed for this, and they can afford this. Honestly, it can be 40-60% more expensive the closest competitor from the feature perspective or even benefits perspective. And this is all about the brand promise in retail context, guys. For example, you know that you can realize, like, if you're a retailer, what is actually our, again, differentiate, what is our values, what we create for the customers. And the technology, what Ian mentioned, like the tools of pricing today's, they can help you to leverage this. They can find this, hey, why people is coming to my store. For example, we do have a customer with a very big, it's technically gas stations. The small grocery stores on gas station, and the traffic's very depends on, guess what the event. Uh, Traffic conditions, of course. Whether the traffic jams on this highway, those store makes a lot of sales. It means that we can leverage this, right? And McDonald's is doing this for years, leveraging that third party events to do optimization pricing and the location based pricing, etc. Yeah, it means that you should, on the third level, you coming from this blind game, right? I say just matching the market to more like a value capturing from the location and zone perspective, plus what you did with your brand, how you can monetize on this. And
Yeah.
imagine this something that you can calculate. Like, again, is we're talking just a bit more advanced things that price elasticity, but there's also the, because I call this that demand elasticity, because price elasticity is showing us only one information, like how my price change affect the sales change, but without the context in which store, in which cluster. Honestly, this metric are useless. It was cool like in 2000s. In 2025, it is not enough. Again, the traffic information, your marketing expenses, your store
Yeah.
location, your behavior of your competitors, is much more information can be taken into account. Or, for example, price elasticity is saying nothing about stock availability, right? The sales was good because the competitor has nothing to sell or offer, or for the items who is like unique, it never can be matched with the market, where the elasticity coming from.
Yeah, I think another key thing to keep in mind about price elasticity is it's historical. It's always kind of backwards looking, and obviously things, particularly now, are changing so quickly. You've got market dynamics that are constantly shifting. Customer perceptions are constantly shifting as well. You've got tariff wars, you've got inflation, you've got this and that. There's so much going on. AI. That are all kind of like shifting potentially willingness to pay or all around. And so it's really important to supplement, I think, that elasticity insights with also kind of those value insights as well, at the current present time, and have a deep understanding of customers, their usage patterns, their behavior, churn indicators, upsell opportunities, all these sorts of things.
Perfect. Yeah, this nice summary saying, yeah, guys, just keep in mind that price elasticity is a backward-looking metric, which is in this kind of our complex and very rapidly changing environment, is really hard to rely on this metric. And yeah, and I am coming to the last
So
level?
there's a couple more points I just wanted to cover off on the value conqueror. So at this level, it tend to be more sophisticated customer segmentation. Based on different sort of attributes, based on value drivers, and essentially value innovation really drives product growth. So in terms of what you prioritize on the roadmap, that's all based on the deep understanding of customer needs and the research that's been done around that. And then, of course, very importantly, pricing governance exists to protect profit margins whilst also enabling sales agility. So it's not there as a blocker, but it is there to kind of provide some structure, some framework to discounting, some pricing principles, and essentially a committee where that can assess exceptions.
Got you. Like I just feel like a lot of retailers will argue here a bit because the customer segmentation, especially in offline retail environment, is quite challenging thing. In my understanding, Guy, and I move this on the level fifth of maturity. The level three for us is like the optimized location centric. You can at least start from clusterization of the stores and the clusters. Even here is a lot of challenges. I feel like that we do have a customers who do the same price strategy for the East Coast and West Coast stores, and even despite their formats, like hypermarket has absolutely different behavior from like small mini market, mini stores, what actually convenience stores nearby your house and home. Honestly, that I'm quite new to America, like it's a 3 years here or around. But in Europe, it was always basic differentiator between the pricing strategy for hypermarkets and convenience stores. Here in America, I see is not a big difference. It's just like they treat it as, oh, it's just different format store. But no, guys, this is should be a first of all different assortment, right? That what you put in your convenience store, you don't have much space to put all your assortment. You need to be super selective which assortment you're placing there. And again, just to back to your thing, I feel like it's correct, but the baseline is start from thinking about just the basic assortment and store price zones clusterization. And if you will be great here, then you can move further to customer segmentation and say, hey, for new buyers, what we can offer. Or Amazon, by the way, or Temu, this is a big topic was a few years ago. The Temu just below the market, right? And they even paying you. I did like first purchase, they say, this is zero for you. You can, this item is zero, that item is zero, because they're ready to pay. I calculate it's around $100 per new buyer. It means that they're so confident on my LTV that if I done it once, I will be retained for years afterwards. Is why they give me this as $100 free purchase. And back to your discounting policy idea, is a probably huge topic, but we'll need to chat with you separately. But they're not doing the discounts. They actually giving me items saying, hey, this is a special offer for you on that specific item, not the stupid coupons or like what one size fits all when I getting the coupon for like but for Pampers, I don't have, my son is like 8 years old, I don't need those coupon at all, but I'm getting all the time in my mailbox. This is kind of thing what, for example, good examples already exist, and for coming from China, they did it like years ago, segmentation of the users.
I mean, an example from my own experience working with a leading retailer in New Zealand, they had a hypothesis around kind of, okay, if we discount a particular item, this is going to drive lots of footfall into store, this is going to drive up basket spend, etc. But it was a hypothesis that was completely unvalidated. And it is so important to get the data to prove out those types of hypotheses. Otherwise, you are simply just throwing away money.
It's a from guys. We just posted recently like bad advice pre high season, holiday season, bad advice on discounting. And it was one of those. And you remind me. I saw the customer. They did some discounts on Monday. Like it's like, hey, like this is 30% cut of this. On Wednesday, they're shooting another one. And on my question, what has changed? What is the data tells you that we need to do another discount here? The answer was because we know that 35 discount is better than 30. Yeah. Okay. Because I know by fact that technically they was not able even to recognize right now how the foot traffic changed during the from Monday to Wednesday. And by the way, the Monday and Wednesday traffic is a completely different just by DNA. And there's what on Friday there's another discount pull out. And unfortunately, there's quite decent brands as the big retailers what still doing this. What was just done before their predecessors, their different teams, and just continue doing things. Guys, I feel like in this crazy world, with again the people spends are declining, right, and buyers are very selective, and this you need to be more data aware. What is Ian saying? That is again, as a new technologist and great experts in the room, you can measure this. And sometimes doing nothing is not bad thing. Doing nothing, it means that we are measuring. And for example, just for whom doesn't know, the machine learning this act this way. We call this contextual machine learning. It means that if the context is not changed, or we can't quantify or measure that context is changed, the price would be changed, you know. And for example, even if you say, yeah, the foot traffic and the transaction, we can detect, for example, sales through rate, right? We see that items like slowing down in sales. And then there's also the context was changed. The context for us is even behavior specific item or behavior of the customer or behavior of the competitor. And usually it's like 2, 3, 4, 5 factors at the same time. It's not one factor. Also, when you limit it to these Excels or simple automation tools, you just can leverage only a few factors. Like, hey, where is my sales? Honestly, everyone is benchmarking around sales items, that turnover. And if this is not goes that way, they think they like is panics big game, the panicking. No, just be calm. Use the leverage the data and try to make an action, and then you will learn slowly and change. And this is how you come to a better price maturity when you start doing this. We call value capture, right? The understanding the which value and where we done maybe something wrong is why you lose the foot traffic, etc. But maybe it's not.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I think you've raised a really important point, distinction there between like vanity metrics and measuring profitability is just so important. Just understanding profitability at as granular a level as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Uh,
And we're coming to the fourth level, right?
Yeah, and the fourth level is price optimizer. So this is really around, okay, so you understand the value drivers and you can have an automated pricing engine that essentially optimizes based on some preset variables. At this point, there is internal alignment around pricing and differential value as well. And segmentation really drives that price differentiation that we talked about. Across pulling all those different pricing levers. Yeah, it could be across different customer attributes, product attributes, demographics, regions, things like that, having really localized pricing strategies. And differentiated value selling. So this is more relevant to the B2B space as well, where obviously where you have that direct engagement with the customer. So rather than leading the conversation with price, it's really asking those strategic questions to really understand how the customer is using the product or the solution, in what context are they using it, and what value are they generating from it? What's the outcome that you're driving? And then price fences to help minimize the segment creep and cannibalization of that. Ongoing value innovation to attract future customers. So it's not just about what customers need now, but what will they need in the future, and building the roadmap around that. And then the icing on the cake is, and for you, this is probably very important for your audience, is to leverage behavioral economics to help with adoption. So things like charm pricing, anchoring, decoy pricing, all these things can really drive your product mix and upgrades and things like that.
Yeah, cool point is this. You move to this level 4 maturity. To summarize, guys, when you have this good foundation and you have data, you have already clusters, then you can honestly leverage and play with optimization, different optimization techniques, including like price anchoring. For example, the whole McDonald's prices still is based on the Big Mac sales. right? It means that means McDonald's was one of the great examples. It's still like actually they in multiple business schools when you get into this pricing topic, they use the McDonald's as an example of the anchor pricing that you can really understand. For example, guys, or your private labels, you see that if you analyze the two main drivers, retail growth, what drive the retail growth on the past like 3 years, private labels, launch the private label products, and second, acquisition of other smaller players. Of course, the private label allows you to get better margin to recover this, but it's impossible without this cool optimization techniques saying, okay, this is my A brand and this is my private label brand, how far they should be, and how, by the way, the good insight in some areas, the private label products can become your A products. And then we do have multiple companies with great example that technically their private label products became the A brand. Yeah, and this is the level 4 maturity. And for example, we need to ramp up here. I know that 30 minutes is gone very quickly. Thank you, Ari, for this. Just to summarize, all these levels are most or less you go through them. And I know it's your passion. Maybe if the founders are listening to us, they want to jump on the level 4 immediately. Honestly, guys, it's quite hard, and you need to go slowly, stage by stage. It's good like level 3 and 4 needs to happens consequences. It's more about the adoption, the system, and actually internal like maturity of the organization rather than technological maturity. I mean, if you ask the feature of Ian, can you build me anchoring? Well, cool anchor with different sizes, etc. He can, but your team probably will not able to adopt this, or you will lack in the data required to write this cool anchor price optimization just because data foundation is not right. And this kind of those level of maturity they build that you usually need to grow through them. Yeah, it can happen like in 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, but usually the consequences is not like immediate jump from the cost chaser to optimizer.
Yeah.
Ian, thank you so much for joining this chat with me. I hope this
was a pleasure.
Valuable. Oh, it is very nice to see you. Thank you for you doing this job, you structuring this, because again, it still is in this market, the pricing is quite chaotic. And I love to see, as you showed me first time, your level of maturity. Say, yeah, this so resonate with me because it's exactly how we see it, and try to explain the right tale. These guys, we decided to jump this morning on this chat just to give you another look on this. And yeah, thank you, Ian. And
yeah, feels like we scratched the surface. So there's so much more to cover for another time.
Yeah, perfect. Let's catch up one day and then discount. Like let's chip. You know, the discounts is a huge topic as well.